I've been playing video games my whole life, and ever since I was a kid, I wanted to make my own. And you know what? I'm not getting any younger. So fuck it. Let's make a game. One small problem though. I don't know anything about making games. I've had no education in coding, game design, level design, etc., and my art skills could only be described as better than your average first graders. Well, that's what the internet's for. So a quick search later, and I was immediately overwhelmed with a ton of information, most of which I did not understand. Turns out, though, that there's this little company called Unity that made a game engine, and not only do they let people try it out for free, they also have a very good set of tutorials for beginners. So I spent some time learning Unity and C Sharp. This is the point of the video where I will mention that I actually started this whole process a few years ago, before, this happened. And while I'm sure none of this would actually affect me in any way whatsoever, it just goes to show that they're not the kind of company that I want to support. So I decided to switch over to Godot. Why Godot? Well, a few reasons. First of all, I've been getting more interested in open source projects ever since Windows did, yeah. But more importantly, it supports C Sharp, the programming language that I had already started learning in Unity. And after months of literally pounding my forehead into my desk, trying to force my brain to learn a new skill as an adult, I felt like I finally grasped enough of it to actually get started on a real project. And then after years of real life stuff and a bit of procrastination, I finally had enough motivation to actually get started on that real project. So, what kind of game will I be making? I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I have so many ideas for games, but I understand that the vast majority of them are well outside my current skill level. I need something simple to start with, something small, maybe a little arcadey, so I'm going to go about this in what is most likely the wrong way to make a game, and start by making a character. And by character, I mean this placeholder capsule. And after some fairly simple code, he can move around. It was at this point that I decided the game will have an isometric camera angle, like the old Zelda games, because why not? I need to make decisions and they may as well be made arbitrarily. Next, I want him to be able to turn. Small problem though, I can't tell which way he's facing. So I gave him a nose. Yes, a nose. And after some even simpler code, he can now turn. But I don't like it. The way he just automatically snaps to the direction instead of smoothly rotating. It doesn't look good to me. So after many hours of digging through tutorial after tutorial and some more forehead to desk therapy, I now have this. Is it the proper and most efficient way of getting this result? Definitely not. But it works, and I understand how it works. And that's what matters to me. Speaking of ADHD, I think it's time to make a real character model. Don't get me wrong, there's a special place in my heart for Noseman, but he's really got a face only a mother can love. Again, I'm not what people would call good at art, but I also don't want to buy or use other people's assets, so I need to pick an art style that's simple enough for me to be able to pull off. After some time thinking and researching, I decided on voxel art, mainly because I found this free software called Goxel that makes it easy, and I can use the art style's limitations as guide rails, kind of like the bumpers you have the employees at the bowling alley put up for you when you're a kid, and definitely not when you're in your 30s. After a bit of messing around in Goxel, I made this little robot guy, because robots are cool. But there's actually a secret hidden benefit. You see, it's a lot easier to make animations look robotic than natural. So if someone tells me that my animations are too robotic, I can just hit them with a, yeah, because he's a robot. It's intentional. Boom. Future argument won before it even started. Anyways, I imported him into my game, and now I have a robot sliding around. Time to get to animating. Thankfully, I came across this screenshot of a book called The Animator Survival Kit, which basically tells me how I should position my little robot friend for each of his keyframes. And after what was probably way too much time for how simple a task this was, I've got him running around. A little more work, and he can walk and jump too. Next, I wanted to be able to have him move separately from the direction he's facing. But I'm lazy, and don't want to animate strafing or backpedaling. Worry not, for I have a solution to this non-problem that I just created. So I hit the code like it was endless pasta night at the Olive Garden, and came up with this. Now his torso can rotate separately from his legs, and since he's a robot, it makes it so it's not super creepy that his waist can rotate 360 degrees. Now I want to make a small tweak to the camera. I want to be able to offset it from the character, to be able to see further out in any given direction. Why? I don't know. It just makes sense in my head, so stop questioning me. Thankfully, this one was pretty simple. And now, if I want to look further out without moving up, I can press a button to unlock the camera and move it a little ways out. Press the button again, and it locks in place. Finally, I added a separate button to reset it back to normal. I even made it so his head could also rotate separately to face the direction of the camera. See, it's not creepy at all because he's a robot. A few more plates of spaghetti code later, and now I can control his movements with a keyboard and mouse, as well as a controller. I suppose it's time to decide what this game is actually going to be. Sure, I've got a partial character controller made, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. But a game this does not make. I've got some ideas, and I'm mostly leaning towards this being a twin-stick shooter or slasher, since the controls are basically made for it already. But there are some other options for me to explore. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas, and hopefully I'll see you in less than 3 years. Yeah, sorry about that. Bye.